Hey, travelers, it's Sparks Valentine here with
Erica Nerdy Yogi.
and
And Foxfires.
and welcome to Dice and Dish, the tabletop RPG roundtable discussion podcast, where the three of us are going along on travels, talking about three different topics every episode, and meet some interesting adventures along the way that we bring into our silly discussions. So we really hope that you enjoy the episode and that you continue along the travel with us. So I guess we'll see you along the road. Hello, travelers. Sparks here on the new episode of Dice and Dish. We have Erica Nerdy Yogi,
Hello.
Foxfire,
Hello.
and we have two very special guests on today's episode. They are Evelyn and Heather from the Magic Academy.
Hello.
Hello.
We're super excited to have you guys on. If you kind of want to just give an explanation of who you are, so that way in the beginning people know who they're going to be hearing.
Well, we are from Magic Academy, which is a all queer TTRPG table that specializes in the beauty and magic of queer storytelling. So if you want to check us out, twitch.tv/magic academy. Magic_academy.
Magic_academy.
Magic_academy. That's right. My name is Evelyn. I do all the art for Magic Academy, and I am also part of all of our campaigns.
True. And me being Heather, I'm the newest one. I'm actually lead of social media / merch for Magic Academy. And I play in the main cast and create silly, goofy characters for some of the other side games that we play. So yeah, that's what we do here.
Yay. I'm so excited for this episode. So yeah, Erica, if you want to go ahead and roll the dice, we can hop on into our topics.
Okay. It is Fox first.
All right. So my topic is orientation in your TTRPGs. So we've talked about relationships between characters and NPCs on the podcast before. It hasn't aired yet, but as the timing of this recording. But I was also curious, when you guys play characters, do you always play your preference? Or do you kind of change it depending on the character themselves? I know some people do one, some people do the other. I myself am bisexual and my characters flip-flop. Sometimes they'll be straight, sometimes they'll be gay, and everything in between. So I was just curious what everybody else's take on it is.
Sure. For me personally, all of my characters are bi/pan. Just because like I like to have my all of my options open. Because I'm bi as well. So like I don't for me it's very much like I enjoy the lack of I enjoy not having like not putting a limit around myself. I have recently thought about making some of my characters more of like more of like the I think it's like monosexual orientation versus like a polysexual, um which is just getting into the niche queer terms, niche queer terminology. But yeah, personally, I just like to make all of my characters bisexual because that's what I am, and so it's just easy for me.
So yeah, same. I mean, as a bisexual, gender fluid, human, with my characters, I think it depends on who I'm playing. I typically tend to think of like themes for my characters, and so that does play a part in who I'm creating. But for the most part, I play what I know. If that means I'm romancing the women's, I'm romancing the women's. I'm romancing the men's. I'm romancing the theys and the thems. And it's going to be an all good time. I'll romance the monsters because that's who I am as well.
That's a whole mood as well.
That is a mood. Very much a mood.
I rolled to seduce the dragon.
Always, if you
everything.
always.
You always have to try at least once.
Yeah. Erica, do you want to go?
Yeah, sure. So I am straight. So I usually like to think about who my character is, and then I just choose from there. Sometimes I'll even make it like a dice roll, and I'll put it as like part of my character creation and just make it random, and I just go with it. So I don't really like to do a lot of romance at the table just because I am kind of selective who I'm comfortable role playing that with. I don't really like doing that at like tables that I don't know the people very well. And a lot of times I'm the DM, so I'm more reacting to the players trying to romance my NPCs than I am romancing other, like on the other side, I guess you'd say, as a player.
I as a homosexual man, it's a full game man, golden stars they would say. I honestly, so all of my characters are female. Every character that I play in a tabletop game is always going to be female. I think except for maybe like once or twice in like our home games, I've played like a non-binary male that had like, that was very feminine. But I think when I'm at cons, I usually don't do that just because it's a little bit easier for them. It's a 4-hour game and I don't want them to have to worry about it. But in terms of like orientation, it's kind of just depends. I'm like, you know, how does my character feel about this person? You know, are they gonna like how are they feeling? I had one game I played a bard. I mean, you know, the stereotypical bard wants everybody, wants everything. Within 2 sessions was in a pirate's cabin room. 2 sessions later was with a weapon maker who was a female. Like, it was just one of those, like, she's playing the field, and then she ended up becoming a matron. Like a courtesan group or something that were like assassins. It was really interesting. I know. Yeah. It was a wild game. There was so many things that ended up happening. Like, she became a god at the end of it, and it was just like wild. But I know, right?
I wanted my characters to become a god so bad. I was in a game once and I tried so hard. I was like all I want for the end of this campaign is for my character to be a god, and the DM said no, and then I was like, okay, what if I become a lich? And then I didn't have the right levels because you have to be like a level 17 wizard to become a lich, and so I wasn't on the right track. Because I was all bard and sorcerer, and then I was like, well, I'm just gonna become a monk then and just punch things a bunch, and he's just gonna go be sad.
Yeah. But yeah, no.
I was gonna say, on the flip side of the whole bard thing, you know how everyone's always like, yeah, we're gonna play stereotypical bard, like I'm gonna romance everything. One of my current bard characters is technically straight edge.
Oh.
She's straight edge.
So much.
She's the best. Yeah, doesn't drink, doesn't do drugs, is pretty much, you know, not really playing the field. But then again, I mean, Strahd's a whole different story, so we'll see what happens there. But she is very much straight edge. She's not romancing anybody.
Till she meets Daddy Strahd, and
She has met
then
him, and she doesn't know how to talk.
exactly.
It was amazing.
Yeah, you know, we'll see what happens.
I am the lucky DM who gets to have that bard, and I love it. I love Emery.
Yeah. Now, I do feel though that it is very much, I feel like a lot of people do bring in their orientations though from their actual lives into the game. I mean, we have a couple of people at our table. I mean, they're straight males, and all their characters are played that way. Like, they don't, it's not like anything else. Talking about your bard where he's very straight edge, one of our DM at the moment, that's how his bard was. He wasn't sleeping around. He wasn't doing anything. It was a character relationship. PCs, their characters got in a relationship together. Ended up having like a Cthulhu baby and started a cult. It was wild.
They got married.
They got married.
I'm
Yeah.
here for that regardless.
Yeah, and that was Erica's game. That was all Erica. She brought in like things from different systems and was like, we bought this like 5e Cthulhu compatible book, and it had like things you could bring in, and just lots of things were brought in. That game was super fun. A lot of like really funny things happened in that game. Talking about your lich, Foxfire was gonna become a lich.
No, you're wrong about that. My patron was a lich. I just wanted to live forever.
And how did you think you were gonna live forever? Become a
I mean,
lich.
she didn't know what becoming a lich took. She was a very, very good person, surprisingly.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
somebody
I couldn't
who
see
was-
her going the lich
if you
with
want
a
to
traditional route.
you can be good and be a lich. You can be what is called an arch lich.
Mm.
So that is basically the like I think it's technically like the lawful good version of the lich, where like I think the chance of like going mad when you like go through the process is slightly higher because you're trying to retain goodness when you become the lich. I did a whole bunch of research into this because my DM was like, you know, you have to be evil to be a lich, right? And I was like, oh yeah, bet.
Well, I know
You
you don't
sure
have
about
to
that?
be evil, just because that character was actually based on a god from lore. I want to say it's called the Phoenix King. That was a good lich, and so that's what she was based on. And ironically, she became a god by the end of the game.
She did.
Love that.
She did.
You're welcome.
One of these
Who did?
days, I'm gonna have a character who just becomes unto a god.
The funniest
Actually,
thing
just
was
have to
she
kill
did
another
god.
god.
gods.
That game was wild. It was 2 years of
It was.
a lot of fun.
It was so fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I think that's it for that topic, unless anybody else has anything to say on your sexual orientation of your in-game character. I guess not. Erica's rolling the dice either way, so
I
My
was
brain
just
was like,
rolling it that way.
Work is
If no
done.
one had anything to say, then it would be.
we're doing
it would
wedding
be ready to go.
processions.
just ready to go.
Yeah.
I was just preparing.
It's okay.
Zagreus gave you the look of shame.
Listen, sometimes you have to sometimes you got a lot of players at the table and you have to pre-roll that damage.
Sometimes
then
you gotta
you
use the
get
average and
scared.
move on.
Yeah.
It's actually Evelyn. It is your turn.
Oh, that's perfect.
Awesome.
That is actually perfect.
Segue
It really
right into
is.
yours.
Okay, so we lost Erica. Her computer decided it wanted to burst away. So, Evelyn, you can continue with your topic.
All right. My
Alrighty,
topic
so we'll start from the
is-
beginning.
Yes. My topic is D&D as gender exploration. So in especially queer spaces with TTRPGs, we talk a lot about how they can be therapeutic, though again, not a replacement for professional help. I always feel like that's important to say. But it can be very cathartic to play something beyond yourself. So like I am transmasculine, non-binary, they, them, all the fun gender jazz. And I often have a lot of trouble finding like ways in my regular day-to-day that like I can really like dig into that and express that. So that's one of the reasons that I really love D&D is because I can make I almost exclusively play male and masculine characters because of that, and because it's kind of this like thing where I can come to the D&D table and I can like express that part of myself. Like I also really enjoy being able to play characters that are transmasculine as well. A handful of the characters I play are transmasculine, and I usually don't talk about it publicly much because like sometimes I like to keep a little thing that's just for me. like I don't think I've ever publicly talked about my favorite character that I ever played, which was from our season 0, our pilot season of Magic Academy. Peter, he's this blue tiefling, he's a monk, he's great. His mother is the demon lord Alrunes, who is this like amazing feminine force of like justice, and she's really cool. She's one of the demon lords who's like not evil, and she puts shitty men into her mandrake garden as fertilizer. But that character is is trans, and I don't talk about him being trans because I don't think it's something that is like, I don't want that to be like central to his character. And so like for me, knowing that that was part of this character, but not like digging into it in the story, not having it be the focus, was very meaningful. I guess is the word. I'm trying to come up with a synonym for catharsis so I don't say cathartic a million times. But like for it also, like, I've seen so many stories of like people who will play a character of a different gender and will then realize like, hey, I'm not as cisgender as I thought. And also sometimes it's just kind of fun to play something that is not you
Oh,
know?
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have a lot of thoughts about D&D and gender expression and how those go hand in hand, because I think we said this before we started rolling, like D&D feels so like inherently queer, like even when it's played, even because of like the way that it opens up that space beyond our reality. It opens up a space that you can play in beyond just like, I'm an elf and I have a sword. Like it's more than that. It's, I am Lucy and I am a drow. I have this dark master that I serve because I'm a warlock. I don't know. It's just cool.
One, I love the energy. It is amazing. I am all about it. The amount of energy that I have about tabletop RPGs is about the same. So I definitely feel like D&D, even like, I don't want to say all tabletop RPGs because I feel like some of them are like, you know, you have DCC, you have kind of your OSRs that I feel like are not like, they're not very roleplay heavy. They're more of like, you're going into a dungeon, you go through, like that's what it's made for. But like D&D, Pathfinder, other TTRPGs definitely gives you the gender exploration at like 100%. I have always, just from like my life, I've always been very like feminine, and it like in every way, like the way that I walk, the way like I like move my hands, the way that I like sit down, the way that like I like conduct myself is very feminine. It's also like how I was raised. I was raised by a single mother. So you get all of those mannerisms and everything from the people around you. So like growing up that way, that's how it was. Playing role-playing games on like in video games, you get to create your own character. They were always female. It never mattered. I was like, I want to have this banging body with this like cute ass like leather armor or metal armor, whatever it's gonna be. It was dress up. That's what it was. I was like, what can I dress up in and be looking good and being like a badass?
That is a whole mood. I'm way, but with like, I was always the exact same way, but with male characters.
With male characters, yeah. Like, and even the times like I did play male characters in games or anything, they always looked hot as hell, and they were always probably half naked. The few times that I've played male characters in video games, always
That's
in
not
Baldur's
surprising.
Gate. you can ask Fox. Baldur's Gate, first thing that comes off of every NPC is their clothes and it leaves their underwear. That's it. And then you move Lae'zel's underwear to Gale and it looks amazing. Or Astarion. Oh.
I haven't put it on Gale. I currently have it on Astarion. Because I'm romancing him.
As everybody else.
The first
No,
scene where he's in where you're in the undies, I had forgotten that I had put Lae'zel's underwear on him, and I was like, oh,
it's okay.
Pleasant surprise.
It's okay. My first playthrough of Baldur's Gate, which I'm still on, I'm still in Act 1, 40 hours into it. I messed up. I was working Gale. I wanted Gale as my love interest. But I'm so good. I'm so good at romancing everybody that I had everybody ready.
Same.
And I messed up and chose, I'm not mad about it. I chose Astarion. Like, am I mad about it? No. But am I a little mad about it? Yes. Because then I went to Gale and he was like, oh, well, I see that you're going to be with Astarion tonight. So I'll leave you. I'll let you be. And I'm like, no. Let me cancel. Like I canceled on Shadowheart for Astarion. Like,
how do I tell him no? How do I tell him no?
Exactly.
The first time I played through the game, I got about 10 hours in. I got to a certain point, and I was like putting all the moves on Astarion, and then he goes, "I have standards," and I was like,
that's instant restart. Instant restart.
8 full hours just to re-romance Astarion.
Instant restart.
And then I almost
Yes.
threw it all away for Gale.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Gale and that
Gale
like.
loves everything I do.
Oh yeah. As long as you're kind of like practical about everything, Gale's like, He's like,
As long as you're mostly good and just and chaotic, Gale's about it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. But I will say back on the gender exploration, I think it has opened me up though a little bit more to being a little bit more on like the non-binary side. Like kind of like dipping my toes into it, like, ooh, I kind of like the idea of this because then it's like, you know, I love women's clothing. Like I'm like the crops, which crop tops weren't really just women clothing. I wish that would come back for men. Crop tops and jean shorts, like peak 80s fashion. Oh.
My favorite,
but
bring it back. Men are cowards if they're not going to wear it.
But they'll bring mullets back. That's my thing. Like the mullets, I'm like whatever. But
why
like,
did they do that?
I don't know.
Listen, some people can actually pull it off.
Yes, some people can,
few
but
and
where
far
we're
between.
from, it's not like where you would see mullets in any other place because we're down in the South. Woohoo! They're like,
okay? we have the right people wearing mullets.
Exactly.
Like,
we do not.
You go further south, and I'm like originally from Virginia. I'm like, you start going further south, and you're like, nope,
yeah, it's
do
over
it.
then.
Done.
Yeah. But yeah, no, like you kind of definitely that's like it's given me more of like, you know, like I can still be me, but like just not having a label, I think is what like really is like playing like D&D and tabletop games has kind of made me think like, oh, well, you know, I really like playing the feminine characters. I really like that. But it's also, it's like, you know, I still have my like my kind of masculine things that happen. So I'm like, if I could just have the best of both worlds. And it's just one of those, like, I'm really like, that's been something me and Erica have talked about it. I've been thinking about it for a couple years. It's like, and I'm like, you know, I think like it's kind of, it's going more towards that point. So.
You ever want to talk about non-binary stuff? Hit me up.
Okay. Yeah.
I love to talk about all things queer. I especially love to talk about like gender nonconformity. Like it's my whole deal. When I first went into college to do psych before I became a theater major, and that was a choice. But I wanted to be like sex and sexuality and gender educator and stuff. So like queerness is like the thing that I am all about. It is one of my little hyperfixations is just like queerness. So like you ever want to talk about like
Yeah,
queer stuff, gender things, hit me up.
definitely.
It's one of my favorite things to talk about.
Yeah, I definitely will.
Well, it'll probably be short. I have never really played a male as a PC. It's just not something that I've ever really personally been interested in. I have always known cisgender female for me, and it just has never appealed to me to play a male character. Now, with that being said, it may not be a gender thing, but I don't play humans. Ever. I don't play humans.
Same.
The
Yeah.
I
closest
hate playing humans.
the closest I come to playing a human is they're either a half elf or they're a were creature of some kind. Those are the closest I ever come to playing a human. I don't
Yeah.
play humans. Because if
I-
I'm gonna
I
play a
totally agree.
game, I wanna be something I'm not. I wanna have
Yeah.
claws. I wanna have fangs. Something.
On tail.
I think that does kind of go along with like ideas of gender expression though. And like the idea of being
100%.
something like outside yourself. Even though you're playing in like a cisgender feminine space, you're still playing with that idea of like what it means to be a cisgender
The
woman.
other. Well, right, in the
Yeah.
other,
Yeah,
essentially.
you're still playing in the
Yeah.
space of the other, and that still kind of relates to that very much, and I love that. Oh, because like, yo, fuck humans. I want to
Look, I have played a couple of humans like when I've played, but I've always made something that's like more because I feel like just playing a basic human is kind of boring. You get the very end. I had a curse one time. It was in Erica's game.
Humans.
Yeah, I was a variant human, but
Humans.
I was like talking with Erica about it. I was like, I really want to do something that's more. So like we came up with an entire curse for my generation, like my family. So like have you watched Ruby?
God, it's been forever.
So Blake, I kind of took from Blake Belladonna where she had like the cat ears and she'd hide it with a bow. She had the tail that she would also hide that way, kind of. So I was like, what if it was this curse that was passed down through the women of the family? It skips a generation. Each of them get a different feature. They either get the ears, the eyes, or the tail. And I was like, but my character got all three. All of them. And it was like some weird, it was like a weird thing. So like when I play humans, I usually try to give them something else. I don't like to just be like normal. I'm like, I want some crazy things. Let's go. But mostly I play elves or tieflings.
Same,
I love tieflings.
I'm telling you, man, tieflings are you want to know if someone's fully queer? They play tieflings. Ask them what their favorite class is. Tieflings.
They're tieflings.
My favorite character I've ever played is a tiefling.
Same.
It's a tiefling. There's something about it.
I know.
As far as me, with gender exploration through D&D, I do know that I lean towards more feminine characters because I am very femme presenting. But I am starting to, especially if like I get a really cool concept in mind, I do lean now and then. I'm throwing in a couple more male based characters. I think one of the most recent ones I did was Jack Whiskey Daniels for the one shot we did, where I was essentially playing Pedro Pascal from the Kingsman, his character in the Kingsman.
Daddy.
And yeah, I don't think Pedro Pascal knows how much I love him.
I love
that was like one of like the first real like male characters that like I played like either like in a public game that as a player where, you know, as a DM, like, yeah, I'm gonna be playing male characters and different things like that. Though I do have a habit of switching up genders for characters. I did it recently with Wild Beyond the Witchlight. There's the two owners are two male
I've actually ran that.
so they're two males. I switched Miss Light, the more jester jovial-esque
Yeah.
one, into a female, and she's very much this Effie Trinket based, very jovial, exciting character. My players fell in love with that change. Like,
Oh
loved
my
her character.
gosh.
Like she like everyone loved her. And that's just like a small change. And sometimes I
Yes.
feel like it kind of like makes it a little bit more because she deals with like the mood of everything. And so you're dealing with someone who's happy all the time. And then all of a sudden it's this darker snaps to something, you know, a little bit more sinister, which isn't really that fun if it was a dude. We can have boring Mr. Witch be grumpy, whatever, dealing with time, but
I feel
light?
like that's a very masculine thing though, is to like have that like presentation of like, ooh, look at me, I'm so nice, and then you say one wrong thing to me and
it's just a snap.
and it's fucking over for you.
Yeah.
So I think flipping that script and making that a feminine character is
Yeah, that's amazing.
it's really fun.
It
like
I
that a lot.
think made that game a little bit more interesting in the beginning, and then one of these days, if I decide to run Strahd myself, I am running She is the Ancient, the female version of Strahd.
Yes. I like whenever I ran Witchlight, when we kind of went through the first part, I think I made them gay. I don't think I left them as brothers because I made Witch the very flamboyant one.
It was pretty much a twink and a bear.
Yes, it was.
The
So
combination, and I probably would have done the same, but I was like, you know, I know all my players are like very accepting and everything, but I said a DM ran it as a woman for me, and I was like, I love that. I'm stealing.
yeah, I still think that is amazing though. Like having that, I'd like, oh my gosh. Like now I'm just thinking about it because I'm like, all the craziness that she wears throughout all of those things, like I'm like, I could see it happening.
Trinket, Hunger Games, like
Yes.
that was the vibes for Miss Light for me.
Yeah, and like where you said like swapping Strahd, I pitched this because Erica and Fox have both played through Curse of Strahd. It was not. I was brought in right at the end, so I didn't get to play through all of it. But one of my best friends, she bought me the revamp of Strahd that's in the coffin, and I was like, I saw on like TikTok or something, I can't remember, they made the Curse of Strahd like a summer camp, and Strahd was a gay camp daddy.
What?
And I was like, 100%, if I run this, we're doing it this way. Strahd's going to be the camp counselor daddy in his crop top and little tiny jean shorts. And I was like, that's it. Like, I was like, you can't tell me anything. And his... If you do, please send it to me on Twitter.
Oh my god! You know what shirt he needs to be wearing a cropped version of? The from our merch store, the Magic Daddy shirt with the
yes.
retro lines.
Please, if this happens,
RPG.com. Like, plug the merch.
Oh yeah, you just send me all your links. It'll be put in the description. Don't worry.
Oh my god, I'm obsessed.
Yes.
Strahd in a cropped version of that shirt.
Oh, and like knee-high socks and Converse. Yes.
Tiniest little jean
the
shorts.
The tiniest of shorts. Very 80s camp counselor.
Yes.
Maybe a little bit of a sweatband. You know, something. Oh my god, I'm obsessed, number one. But like, I'm all about, you know, that whole like the gender exploration. Like, I like playing guys, I like playing the girls. And then I love doing that whole flip-flop for if it reads better for me as like a character, an NPC in like a pre-made module being like a different gender, I'm gonna do it. I make the rules. I'm telling the story.
Exactly.
Yeah, I used to have a couple of female characters that I would play. I had a wood elf ranger who's the DM let me have their animal companion be a moose, which is technically too high of a CR. But we made him we simplified the sheet so that it would fit the CR to be an animal companion. I have one female character who her name is Melody, and she is a celebrity impersonator. So she's a College of Glamour bard, and the celebrity that she impersonates for her main gig is Ariana Grande.
Oh my god, I love it.
So
Oh my gosh,
I love it.
So
All the love.
I do an awful Cat Valentine impression.
Oh my
I
gosh.
give my characters a voice, and anytime she's asked a question, she's just like, "Yeah."
Yeah. My gosh, I love it.
And all of her spells that require verbal components have an Ariana Grande. Like if she were to cast something like what's the stabilizing cantrip? If she were to cast Spare the Dying, it would be like just keep breathing.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing. I
love it.
Love it
She
so
does
much.
the huffling.
Oh, that makes it even better. And she's got the like big
Does.
ponytail.
Yeah, she's got the big ponytail.
Oh.
And I think I gave her like she was like she's 2.5 feet tall, but I think I made the joke of she's 2.5 feet tall but 5 in the heels.
I think we're good on that topic. Unless anybody else. Yeah.
Where are we rolling next?
So we'll go ahead and
Yep.
do
three
Erica's
more.
topic. Yeah.
Okay.
So Erica, because she's not here, her topic was just to kind of highlight queer created tabletop RPGs. She has systems on there, but I feel like if the system is already made, I feel like things after that. So you can talk about both. If you just have like a queer created tabletop game that you want to talk about, or if you know of a system that was created by, something like that. I'll kind of. Erica had Visigoths versus Molgoths. She put that in our Discord, so I could add a link to it. I have no idea what it's about. Let me click on it real quick, and then I'll talk about
I
it.
have that through so sometimes on Twitter, like Humble Bundle will like post things.
Yes.
Like tabletop things. I got it in either my Queer Games bundle or my TTRPGs for trans rights. One of those. I have it in one of them.
Basically, I feel like it's at a mall, a retro mall, and you just play. It's it can get my bisexual take on that bit in the mall and Bill and Ted, and the world is better for it. This is a review. I'm reading some reviews, so that way I'm unfortunately not able to know what Erica wanted to say about them, so I'm just going to say what I'm reading for her. I love this project for its inherent comedic genius, 90s nostalgia, and because of how queer it is. VG versus MG combines everything I love: occult time travel, the 90s, and queer culture with things I never knew I needed: an emo grudge tracker and a turf war that shouldn't really make sense but totally does.
Yeah, it definitely does. I do have this.
Okay.
Essentially, it's like either you can do it as a one shot or a campaign play. I haven't played it yet, but there's like side quests you can do, as well as like, you can just replay the games. You can kiss people. Someone said it was literally like, part TTRPG, part dating sim.
Oh, I love that.
It's got amazing art on it. I'm pretty sure it looks like it's done on the same system, or at least a similar system as Thirsty Sword Lesbian.
So it's powered by the apocalypse, basically.
Yeah,
the
that's what it looks
2d6.
like. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that was Erica's shout out. Was for that.
Which you can get it on Itch.io.
Yep. It will be in the description if you would like to check it out. All of the ones that we talk about will be put in the description, just so that way we can show them some love and get that sent to them.
Yeah, I'm looking at an article all about various queer about some various queer TTRPGs. The same people who made Thirsty Sword Lesbians recently, I think if I'm reading this correctly, came up with another game. I think it's called Plant Girl Game. I think that's the same. It's one of the writers from Thirsty Sword Lesbians. They just completed a crowdfunding for something, Plant Girl Game, which just from the title sounds
Sounds
awesome.
gay. Sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Sounds gay.
Yeah.
Plants.
Sounds
Exactly.
gay.
Sounds gay. I'm in.
One of the queerest games I've ever played is not of a TTRPG. Is not even technically a queer TTRPG. It is a Jane Austen themed.
I know you're talking about the Good Society.
Good Society.
I already know.
Yes.
I already know. I want it so bad.
It was the queerest, it is a perfect setting for queer people.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
you just get to be like, the way that we did it was we used like D&D races, and we had it set in the D&D fantasy world that we were playing in at the time, because my DM at the time had this whole like fantasy world that she had built out, and so we were playing in that space with this. It was mostly 5e, but then we were also doing this one for a couple of sessions, and it just, I don't know, I played this very flamboyant like high elf who was like distantly related to royalty. His name was Darcy, D''ARCY, like
Like Mr. Darcy from Pride and the Prejudice.
Darcy.
Darcy.
Darcy de Valentine. And he had like this whole scandalous background. But it was so much fun, and we all brought these like extremely queer characters and just messed around in this like in this setting of like this Jane Austen style like courtship, and playing around with that with it, but also side by side with the queerness, because if you really read Jane Austen, it's pretty queer. It gets
Very
a little
much.
queer in there. Gets a little
Very
queer in there.
much. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, very, very, very much. Yes.
So it's not technically a queer TTRPG, but God does it do kiss wonders.
I 100% believe that it is very much a queer tabletop RPG. No matter what anybody says, like if you just like read through it, like the cattiness and like how you're supposed to be in it, no, like that's 100%.
Like, that coded language from like the Edwardian era, just
and also that bleeds into like the Victorian era and whatnot as well. Like it's
Yes.
so queer coded.
like
Definitely.
especially because like if you actually look at like the way that like queer people were coding themselves, like with the green carnations and with like all these other things like violets and the flower language really was huge with the queer community from that time, because it was a way to like subtly nod to other people who were like you without letting the rest of the world in, and it gave these opportunities to have these like to have these relationships and these private moments and all these lovely things. And yeah, I get really like I said, queerness is one of my favorite things to talk about. I love the history of it as well. So
Ashley or Heather, either one of you want to go? Do you want me to go? Or
I have a whole list, so you might want to leave me last.
I mean, I'll go ahead and go. Again, it'll be fairly quick. I did not get to do as much research as I would have liked. Only basically looked up some games that looked interesting. One to me that looked interesting is by a queer creator called Bloom. And it's because it's a solo game. So if you don't have a group, you can actually play it yourself. It's basically you're playing supposedly a teenage girl, but you could probably change that to be whatever you want to be. And you're at a boarding school where a virus is outbroken and you have to survive these mutated creatures, and you pull cards and you can get mutations and things yourself. So things like that are always interested me. And so just finding this and being like, oh, it's a GM list, you can play it solo type of game. It sounds super fun.
That sounds awesome.
Oh yeah,
Just pulled that up, 'cause
100%.
I was like,
I know, right? I'm like, I might have to go shopping.
And I mean, there were several others that I found when I was just kind of looking for something interesting, but that was the one that really stuck out to me. And I was like, wow, that's awesome.
and you know what I'm kind of noticing, apart from my list as well, is that there are a lot of more queer-centered solo RPGs.
I noticed that
As far as
too.
exploring like either, your personal like identity, how to work through how you're feeling. Um, those are kind of like it's like journaling with better prompts, because you can look at it more as a game. But I've noticed that you see a lot more queer-based ones in solo, which is kind of nice because this kind of can go back to the whole thing of, do queer people feel like they have a seat at the table? In hobby spaces for tabletop gaming based on like the history of where it's all kind of been. So having these like solo like games is actually like really kind of cool.
And you are
Yeah.
very right. What little bit of research I was able to do, there were quite a few solo ones versus group settings, which I'm like you, I also found interesting.
I guess I'll go on to just a couple of mine. My first one will always be Monster Hearts. Completely. I absolutely love that system. It's so much fun. And then just because I kind of like that idea of, not only is it you finding yourself going through the bounds of being a teenager in high school and you're a monster, it's also like it is very much people can fight me about this. You can fight me in the comments about this if you look this up and you're like, no, it's not. It is very much. You look at the way that it's worded and you look at the way that things, how they are like stated in it, is very much queer coded, like 100%. Even the art, like the art is like amazing. Like I'm just like,
Yeah.
Some of the classes are based around like you could do them like that. And the second one I actually played at Gen Con this year and I was super excited about playing it. It's called Glitter Hearts. And like I saw it at a local game store that's down there. We always go to it when we go to Gen Con. And I saw it there and I was like, oh, I'm going to play in this. I was like going to play in it the next day. And I was like, so then I'm going to play it first and then I'll decide if I'm going to buy it. Oh, I went and played it. I was like, yeah, I love Sailor Moon and I love anime. And magical girl animes. And I was like, all right, I played it. I was like, I love it. I went back to that game store and bought it, not knowing that the creator of that game was at Gen Con and was selling it at a booth.
Amazing.
And I didn't know until I was like looking through today just to make sure, like, like who it was created by. And I stalked as a normal person does.
Very cool.
And
the normalist.
I was like, no. I was like, they were there, and I could have bought it from them.
Was it like the writer or was it the publisher?
The writer.
I just looked up I just looked up Monster Hearts and I saw it was made by Buried Without Ceremony and I was like, Where do I know this
You
publisher
guys
from?
did the
We
Quiet
did
Year.
the Quiet Year.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did we did a 2-shot with another game by the same publisher called The Quiet Year, which is like a little map building game. It's one of those like really short little ones. You use a deck of cards, you have a couple of D6s, and you just build out a little map. So it's by the same publisher. I definitely have to check this one out then.
Yeah.
I love the stuff they make.
Yeah.
I have
Glitter
it.
Hearts was made by Greg Leatherman.
Mhm.
So, yeah, and he was at Gen Con, and I was like, oh my gosh. Like, if I would have known that, I would have went to the booth that it was at, and I would have bought it there. But support your local game stores, too.
Of
Like,
course.
they're how we meet all of our nerd friends a lot of the times.
This is very true.
So, other than online.
Yeah.
So, those are my main two.
God. I have lists because as someone who has a geeky nerdy storefront that is turning into a tabletop space more than anything, I have to have my hands on everything because I don't have a problem. So
Ever.
I think the one that everyone kind of thinks of immediately for the most part when you think like queer tabletop gaming is Thirsty Sword Lesbians by Evil
Oh.
Hat Productions.
Yes.
They have like their main book, then they have Advanced Lovers and Lesbians, which is like their second add-on book, and there's people who've even made like supplemental material for that game. Monster Hearts was on my list as well.
Hey,
'cause I
great minds
have
think
not
alike.
played it.
I have
Oh,
it
it's
too.
so
Don't
fun.
worry. I've ran it multiple times.
Glitter Hearts, another one on the list because I love magical girls as well.
Look, you ever want to get a group together? I'll rent it for you. Don't worry.
Yes.
I'd be
I
down to
also
play.
please give me a chance to be a magical girl.
I love the stuff that Evil Hat makes.
Oh my God,
They
it's
also made
amazing.
Monster of the Week, which is a game I want to play.
I love that game.
I think bought it.
Yeah,
I
so
need to make a list, a document of all of the document
and
of
then
all the
just
games I
send
have
them.
to be like, oh, Magic Academy, here are all the games I have. What do we want to run?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I want to run a campaign of so badly.
Yes.
I love
Mhm.
Monster of the Week shows.
Oh.
Yes.
And then
Yes.
what is it? I
Buffy
think
the
I
Vampire
have-
Slayer. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Another one, Girl by Moonlight, which is I think by Darrington Press, which is what Critical Role's.
Oh, the Queen. Is it the Queen by Moonlight?
No.
There no.
Is that Queen by no? I have what is who's
Queen by Midnight is their board game they created. They have Till the Last Gasp.
Okay, no, Girl by Moonlight is also another Evil Hat production.
Okay.
Which is another very much, queer based one. And then there's one that I downloaded through one of my charity bundles called This Party Sucks. And basically it's a collaborative story about being queer or trans where you're dealing with a bad breakup and you're at this like a couple of different parties while trying not to think of your ex.
Oh my gosh. It
Okay.
sounds fun, but like it's too real.
It's too real, but I feel like it's funny that you kind of like make that comment is because if you do think about like where the backgrounds of a lot of these like queer based either solo or group based games,
Yeah.
a lot of it are very feeling emotional forward. Here's the things that we deal with and here's how we can kind of either work through them in somewhat of a healthy way, which once again I always say, like Evelyn, therapy's important, please do that. But also if you can't, if this is kind of sort of the next best thing that can assist in some way, you know what, I'd rather have someone not bottle up and play a game. But I've noticed that a lot with like very queer either the theming or who's making it. They're very much like relationship, emotional, feeling, internal questions and role play that come out of them.
Yes.
And it's inspired by Mal Bloom's queer folk punk album Tempest in a Teacup. I love Mal Bloom.
I just thought of another one that's like it's not made probably by queer people, but Vampire the Masquerade.
So that's
my
on my
God.
list.
Oh,
A
okay.
lot of my original. So a lot of my original,
Vampires?
like vampires, obviously queer.
Yeah.
Vampires are
Um,
inherently queer.
They really are.
They're-
No comments. We're not going to take any questions or concerns about this. They are. Twilight does not leave it.
I literally just made a character who's a vampire.
I'm excited for you, little vampire cowboy. But yeah,
Yes.
no. So White Wolf Publishing was the original publisher of like Vampire the Masquerade, Werewolf the Apocalypse, and things like that. That's actually my intro into tabletop gaming. My parents didn't want me playing D&D. And they were like, well, as long as you're not playing D&D, you can keep playing tabletops. Yet Vampire and Werewolf were so much worse than D&D
Yes.
back in like
They are.
I was like what? My parents were like, hey, it's none of that devil stuff. Vampires, whatever. You're
Vampires is like Anne Rice. Like, eh.
yeah, no. So my intro into tabletops was Vampire the Masquerade.
Oh my gosh.
That's
So-
hilarious.
And I haven't gotten my hands on any of like the newer, like the updated.
The
ones,
5th edition.
What is it? Onyx Path Publishing got their hands on it now. I don't know how much changed from World of
I think
Darkness.
it's
once they
well, World
tried
of
it.
Isn't it still White Wolf?
it's
No.
World of Darkness is still.
It's still their world is the World of Darkness
Yeah.
system, but
Hang on.
White Wolf, I think, sold it to Onyx Path Publishing, and I know there were some tweaks and changes that happened.
I can tell you, I
but-
have the book right here.
Vampire the Masquerade, Exalted, hell, Werewolf the Apocalypse, all of even like all that original White Wolf stuff very much could be easily queer focused and based.
Oh, 100%.
I want to say, back to your vampire question, Heather. So from what because I have my Camarilla book just in my room, my base Vampire 5th edition is currently on my kitchen table, flattening out a poster from Texas Renaissance Festival. So it looks like the one that I have, I don't know if there have been changes made or anything. It looks like White Wolf was still a publishing for World of Darkness, and then
Yeah.
Modifius, I think, is now the person that pushes it out.
Oh my god! Like how many hands does it change? Because I was like, oh yeah, White Wolf, and they were like, no, they're gone. Now Onyx Path has it,
Yeah,
and now Modifius has it. What?
which they've
I mean,
not
from
done
what
bad.
From what
So-
I'm seeing, it looks like Paradox Interactive owns the rights.
Oh well, I'm just going based off of what's on the back of my book.
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
No one knows.
It's an entity in and of itself now.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah,
2021, Polygon reported that Paradox was doing stuff. In July 2021, Renegade Game Studios released retail reprinted editions of Vampire the Masquerade, which is what I had thought, because I thought it was Renegade, because I remember at Gen Con, all of the Renegade booths were like covered in like new Vampire the Masquerade stuff and new werewolf stuff.
interesting. That's like a
Ooh.
whole. That would be a topic in and of itself.
Yes.
Diving
lore
into
of
that.
White
We're
Wolf.
just gonna have you come back
The lore
on
of
and we're gonna
White
full
Wolf.
dive. We're gonna full dive into Vampire the Masquerade. That's what we're gonna do. And who is creating
all
it
it is.
now?
Who creates it? Who has the supplements?
I'm gonna write
Yeah.
a 5-page essay on the history of the publishing of Vampire the Masquerade. It's
Okay, I expect it
normal
within a
things.
month.
Normal things.
In a month, APA style, double spaced, 12-point font.
Dang.
Ugh,
Dang. So yeah,
I hated APA.
and I would even say with like Vampire the Masquerade and like those White Wolf type games, they had more queer representation than say like Dungeons and Dragons at the time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you can just send them over and there'll be links to all of them in the description because we want you to buy them. We want you to support.
Indie creators.
Yes, support the indie creators, support the queer creators, support everybody that puts all their blood, sweat, and tears into working on this stuff for you to buy. Because I have no control over my money when it comes to things like that. So, yeah. Well, I guess we'll go on to the next topic unless anybody else has anything to say about it. About any other queer created tabletop RPG systems, things, whatever. So, Heather, we'll go on to your topic. The importance. Oh, I'm not going to say it. I'm going to let you say it.
I mean, hey, if you want to announce it for me, I mean, hey. So one of the things, especially within having being a part of like an all queer table, or at least playing at any table if you are queer in any way, shape, or form, but even also if you are considered cis het, the importance of session zeros. And I know that, not everyone feels that this is kind of like a quote unquote luxury that people can have, but I find it helps in the long run. So essentially, like, if you are playing with other people, whether it's like a home game or if you're playing like at a hobby shop, do you do a quick like session zero prior to playing? And if you don't, or if you do, what is kind of like important things for you to have within them? So no matter where I'm at, whether it's a game I'm running, a game that I'm participating in, it's a one shot at. We have this event called Drinking and Dragons that we put on. It's just a one night thing. We always have in some way, shape, or form some form of like a quick session zero. That way, whoever's at the table, anything like that, is going to be comfortable enough. Yes, are we playing in a fantasy world? Sure. But there's certain things that still give people the ick. Like Curse of Strahd, number 1, that game has some stuff that will be thrown at you. And if you're like, I'm not a big fan of body horror or things of that nature, you're going to be like, hey, I'm okay with this one thing, but I'm not fully okay with this other thing. Or we were just doing a run through of a play and learn of Monty Cook's The Darkest House. I get the ick when it comes to, things going underneath your skin. It's more of a veil for me, where I'm getting like, the body shivers even just thinking of it. But it's not like a hard line. So I also do it. I teach tabletop to kids within our local community, and I give them the opportunity for a quick session zero. Like, hey guys, I'm doing a game based on Halloween. Are there certain things that you don't really like? Like, are you afraid of spiders, or do you not like blood, or things like that? Just let me know, and I'll make sure if it's in here, I'll make sure not to do it. But I think it's very important, no matter like who you're playing with, to do it. So, what are your guys' thoughts in terms of implementing it? And how important it is to you within your playing spaces.
Yeah, I like the idea of a session zero. Not even the like going over things you may or may not like. I love that. Like our group has been playing together for what, 6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
So like we've all kind of learned what everybody's kind of like thing is like what do they not really like, what's not like great or anything. I still think we sometimes even do session zeros just to, I feel like a session zero is not only just a great way to see what people like, how they like things, what they don't like, whatever. It kind of gives you that chance to have your characters meet in some way. So that way, when you actually get to the official session 1 of your game, it's not like you're all just, well, we're at the tavern.
The tavern, the infamous tavern intro.
As that's literally the background of our podcast. Is we're at a tavern. But
it's such a cliche, but I love the tavern.
I do too. And I feel like having a session zero, it gives you a chance to either, maybe we don't all meet in the session zero, but we all end up at this tavern. We've all at least seen each other before, like we've met, and then it's like, if you don't have that and you're in your session, like your first session, it's like, well, what do I see? Well, describe your character. That's what you see. It's like, well, I like the idea of a session zero, and getting that, it kind of gets you into being ready for the game. And it kind of gives you something to look forward to. Oh, well, I didn't meet everybody. How am I going to meet all these characters?
Or ask some questions.
Yeah.
Get to know more about them.
Exactly.
Kind of, it's nice because you get to like, kind kind of figure out what everybody's kind of motivation is. The thing I always really like to do in session 0 is I like to have like everybody kind of like discuss their characters, especially if they're going into it with having their characters know each other. It's like, how do we know each other? How long have we known each other? Like, and if they're going in without knowing each other, it's like, what are things that like it's again, it's that chance to kind of meet the characters before you meet the characters and kind of establish a certain level of like, okay, how is our party kind of going to function? And it also gives you an opportunity to like go through those safety tools and things like the lines and veils or checklists
Yes.
or things like that. And I like a session 0 because it also gives you an opportunity as the DM to kind of set expectations a little bit of like, this is what I need from you as the players. What do you need from me as the DM so that we can make this experience fun? Because at the end of the day, like, I am a very firm believer that I'm here to play D&D. I want to have a good time. Like, is my character sobbing because their love interest has been, because they've been possessed and their love interest no longer has? Yeah, he's a little about that, but
How about even those traumatic
I
experiences?
don't need
are
that
fun.
trauma.
But
I don't
even
need that
those are
trauma
fun,
tonight.
though.
Thank you.
Listen, Heather, we're dark this week. I have to make you think about Midas in
No.
shape or
No.
Yes.
Heather's character is the
Yes.
one who lost their my character
Aw.
is the one who got possessed.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh no.
It's okay, Heather. You'll get him back. I know you will. My character had to go to Pandemonium once to get her lover back.
Oh, she's on her pathway to become a god.
There you go.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's kind of what she's decided.
That's the arc now. She's gonna be a
Slay.
god.
Slay.
I'm gonna get my Minotaur bestie unpossessed, and I'm gonna become a god to do it.
You know. YOLO.
Yes. Yes. I love it. Slay.
But yeah, I session 0s I think are really important. I think it could be also on the flip side. I think if you have enough communication beforehand, it can be kind of fun to go into a session 1 a little blind, especially if your characters don't know each other. Like, if you have, again, it's important to have a certain level of communication beforehand if you're going to do that, like, especially when it comes to, like, those safety tools, and, like, the checklists and the lines and veils. Like, you want to make sure that that's kind of still talked about and established beforehand, and if you kind of can manage to do that, like, with conversations and, like, texting and stuff beforehand, it can be kind of fun to get a little get some surprises in that session 1. It can be kind of fun because you can maybe just discover something where you're like, oh, this is not quite what I expected it to be.
That's kind of what our group has turned into. It's like, we don't really do session 0s, but we all kind of
Go ahead.
we kind of know what classes everybody's playing, because we're just like, well, what are you playing? Like, because it's one of those, yeah, it would probably be nice, like, to have, I don't really know if anybody really talked about what we were playing in this game, because we ended up not having like a full based healer. We have like a half
I'm a
healer.
full healer. Thank you very
half
much.
healer.
I am a full healer. Thank you
I'm
very
sorry,
much.
divine soul sorcerers are not full healers.
I am a full healer.
You don't get all the healing spells.
I get all the healing spells that we need.
Yep.
I keep y'all alive. That's my job. That's what I do. And I'm mostly good at it. When you don't go in the darkness where I can't see you.
It's not my fault.
Okay, no, stop, because I have a character who was a variant human. She's a trickery cleric. Is like, I'll heal you if I feel like it. But couldn't see in the dark. But now she's a reborn warlock.
Oh, you've told me about this character.
And now she can see in the dark, and everyone's like, "What?" I'm like, "Yes."
See-
Rolls
So the character that Fox is talking about was a Gloomstalker Ranger.
okay, so rogue. By a different
So,
name, got it.
she was going to be multi-classed into Rogue.
Ooh.
Don't worry, she was. But when you're in the darkness, people that use dark vision to see you cannot see you. You are invisible.
Ooh.
So we were fighting a what were we fighting?
Chimera. It
A
was
chimera, and I was in the dark because it can't see me, and I'm right in front of
could the
it.
healer.
Yeah, neither could the healer. Nobody could. I was right in front of it, and it decided to fire breath because it couldn't see me at one of our other party members, and I died. And Fox is like, "I'll heal you," and I was like, "Well, technically, you can't see me."
Yeah, and I was like, "You're right. So I'm gonna heal this person instead of you."
So, and then it did it again. So it instantly, I like died. Yeah.
Dead.
Yep. Yep.
And the funny thing was, I think Erica was the one that told me that's going to come and bite you in the ass because we're not going to be able to see you to heal you. And it did.
And she was right.
She was
You
right.
gotta get that cure wounds, gotta get that touch spell.
See, that's what I have because I can make it distant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I couldn't be seen.
You could not.
No.
R.I.P.
So
Yeah.
point is, I could have kept you alive. All I had to do was see you.
That's what warlock packs are for.
Yeah.
Exactly. Devil sight.
Devil sight.
Yep, devil
Make a
sight.
pact-
Magical
just make
and normal darkness.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Make a pact with some other entity.
Just
Instant
like
sight.
call up some demon lord. Call up like
Call up your
Lots
demon
of
sugar
stuff.
daddy.
Session zeros are very important, especially if you have a new group of people. For the reasons listed already, you need to know kind of where your boundaries are with your players, with your DM. I'm fortunate most of the people I play with right now, I've played with for years. So I know I can push those boundaries as a DM. And when I have a new person that I'm not sure about, I tell them straight up, is there anything that you want me to avoid in this session? Because depending on, I'm a very go where you want, you might not like what you find type of DM. And yes, I do have all kinds of stuff in my games that if you encounter it, it's there somewhere if you go looking for it.
Mm-hmm. That damn banshee scream at level 2.
Yep. Yes, I made a homebrew boss that had a Banshee Scream, made Meat Grinder mode, and made the DC for death saves 15 within 150 feet of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
terrifying.
Oh
I love
hell.
it.
I was 150 feet away because I was sniping at it,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
got me.
Oh, and it was also resistant to all damage.
At level 2?
Yeah.
They were supposed to run away.
I was just about to say, this
They
is a
were supposed to
situation
run
of
away.
you need to
This
run
is
They-
why
away.
you run away.
They were supposed to run away. They were given teleport crystals at the very start that were one-time use. As basically your get out of jail free card. And these people were sitting here like, I'm gonna fight it. I'm gonna fight it.
Hey, I
You
stayed
have an
back.
NPC.
I
You
was
have an
ready.
NPC. You have an NPC that's 10 times your level, struggling, but you're gonna fight it.
They're determined. They believe in
Okay,
themselves.
but I would also try to fight it.
Exactly.
Yeah, that didn't go well for them.
If it wouldn't have did that banshee scream.
Of course it's gonna do the Banshee Scream. It was an
Sure.
incarnation of death.
I love that so much. That's literally incredible.
Oh, it was fun. I was mad they didn't fight all of the 8 of those monsters they could have. There was the final one. They avoided it by going the alternate route. The final one would have revived a random one of the others, and they would have had to fight them at the same time.
Oh.
Yeah. It was fun. That game, me and Erica actually, our original characters left. And we had new characters, but
And
our
sided
old
with the evil
characters
goddess.
had a side quest and sided with the evil goddess and brought her back.
Yeah.
Listen.
When I say I'll allow anything, I do within reason.
Sometimes you need to gaslight gatekeep girl boss your way through a session.
Well, does anybody have anything else to say on session zeros?
Actually, yeah, I wasn't completely
You weren't done?
Side note,
Okay.
no. So I actually do
Sidebar.
session zeros a little differently than most people. I don't get the whole group together to do a session 0.
Really?
I don't. So I had a DM in the past, and Sparks also was a part of this DM. I both liked and hated the way he did things. Because he got everybody together and then did individual session zeros at the table. It was fun to do the session 0, but it was really boring because you had to sit there for like an hour while somebody else did their session
It
0.
took 4 hours to get to me.
Oh no. Uh-uh.
Yeah.
It did.
No.
So
Oh,
I
no.
took the same idea and tweaked it, and now when I start a new game, I get the person, I'm like, hey, let's schedule a time and do your session 0. You can get to know your character. You can get to know my DM style if you've never played with me before. We can talk plans. We can talk ideas. And you're going to end up where you're going to meet everybody else in session 1. That way, you get some lore, you get some knowledge maybe other people don't have, based on where you're from and your background. And you get to kind of feel your character out. If you don't like the character with session 0, you can change it. That's what I started doing, and it worked out. Again, before my current campaign that I'm playing, I just got everybody. And one person actually just essentially built out their character's personality with that session 0, because their thing was, well, I'm just gonna fight. I'm a demon hunter. That was their whole backstory. It's like, all right, let's flesh this out.
Yeah.
A bit
love
more.
that.
I need a little bit more.
Yeah.
I really like that. I think that's a really fun way to do it, because it kind of combines like you're getting everything that you need, and then the players still have kind of that still kind of get those surprises of like first meeting each other.
And that's the other reason I do it. That's the other reason I do it separately. That way, everybody can't hear what's going on. They don't know each other's background when they meet. So in the current one, they all joined a guild for different reasons. And the guild sends them out on jobs and they do things for it. So that's how they got together and became a party, because they just got grouped up. So they still have that we don't know each other, we got to get to know each other type feel. Now, in their session 0s, I did drop hints depending on which one went first. The NPCs they interacted with did drop hints like, oh yeah, we had this barbarian come in. Yeah, we have this really big dude with a sword. Yada yada. So they kind of got hints of each other's character, and that's all they got.
Fox, you have anything else to say on session zeros?
No, that was it.
No. Everybody else good?
Good things. Lots of good things for session 0s to cover.
Yes. So the last topic is mine, and I felt like this would probably be a good one to end on. It is the queer representation and content creation. I feel like we have been seeing, mainly in the last few 5 or 10 years maybe, we've been seeing more and more queer content creators. We've been seeing like drag queens creating content now instead of just doing their shows. Trixie Mattel has an entire empire of everything. Her and Katya. Erica loves Trixie and Katya so much. We both do.
Literally in love with Trixie Mattel.
But like, we're seeing more and more of, queer representation and content creation, and I am absolutely loving it. Just being able to like have places that people can go. Like whenever I was younger, it didn't have that. You didn't see that like just on TV. You didn't see it like on YouTube or anything like that until, honestly, I feel very recent. So just kind of talking about that, you know, y'all, your show, your channel, Magic Academy, is amazing. Like it's all queer creators, basically. You may not create content outside of that. If you do, like, amazing, but if you don't, like, you're still in something that is queer created.
And that is a big part of like what we are trying to do at Magic Academy, is like create this space to tell stories as queer people and about queer people, where it's not necessarily that like the emphasis is kind of on the fact that like queer people are just people, like, and so that's a big thing that like we always try to like emphasize within our storytelling, is like, yes, our we are all queer and our characters are all queer, but that doesn't have to be. I think we're kind of moving past the age of everything is a coming out story, which I really appreciate personally. Like for a long time everything was a coming out story, and now we're kind of entering this era of just like getting more into the intricacies of queerness and problems that affect queer people specifically, and also getting into like just the fact that like we have the same problems as everybody else at the same time. And like, so for me personally, getting to be part of that and getting to like be a piece of representation is like, one, it's kind of terrifying because it's like you want to be good representation, but then it's like, well, what is good representation?
Yeah.
Because good representation, I feel like it has so many forms. Like, to me, good representation isn't the perfect, kind, queer person who can do no wrong. To me, good representation is just a very average person who just also happens to be queer, like someone who like experiences like all these things and makes mistakes and just like is a person, but also has this queerness to their identity. And so like getting to be part of stories where we're kind of trying to illustrate that through the lens of D&D is, it's nice. And I'm really excited about all the stuff that we're doing. And yeah, it's just really exciting. As like all of my favorite YouTubers from when I was a kid within the past 5 years have been coming out as either gay or like 3 of my favorite YouTubers, 2 of them came out as gay, 1 came out as trans, and she is slaying the game. And it's so exciting to see us moving in this direction. It's exciting to see that change. I was literally talking about it with my, it's so nice to see that you get to just, that you're like not afraid to be yourself. I think if you were born 20 years earlier, like things would be different and blah 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 blah. And she's like, I'm just so proud of you. And I was like, oh, mom. My mom's great. But yeah, it's just it is so important to TLDR. It is so important to represent queer people as people. Exciting to be part of a group that's doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you are absolutely right. Or your mom is. Just a few years ago, it would have been nearly impossible, or would have felt as such. But we're lucky that now times are moving forward, that people are becoming more accepting. There's still trials. There's always going to be those people that don't like it, and they're never going to like it. But fortunately, they're slowly becoming the minority. Mm-hmm. And there is more representation now because people aren't afraid to represent because they know now they're not alone. There is a large amount of people in the LGBTQ community that will come out and support them. And that is honestly heartwarming to see.
Heather, what are your thoughts on queer representation and content creation, though?
I love seeing it, honestly. Because going back that, like that 20 years ago, 20 years ago, I would be just about starting high school, and it makes me cringe. Just a smidge. And even then, I look back at like some of the things either I said or I did or was like into and whatnot, going, the signs were there. And had I had like the words or I had that representation, I probably would have either come out a lot like sooner, and maybe it wouldn't have been such a crazy weird little like thing to my parents. But the signs were there, so I'm still kind of questioning that one. Um like, it would have been nice to have had that. Yeah, there was maybe a little bit, but it was very much like over the top or like traditional kind of queer things, like a gay man or a lesbian, like that sort of things. You never saw like the in-betweens and the full spectrum of people who may be ace or non-binary. And so now we've kind of gotten that in any forms of content creation. And then also on the other hand, we are seeing a lot more within the TTRPG scene. I will say that I notice it most within, say, people and groups like Dimension 20. If we're
And
talking like a
Critical Role.
larger Critical Role, it's there, but I would say I think the more
Dimension
often
20
than
is
not,
going to have
Dimension
more.
20,
Yeah.
you see it
Yeah.
all the time.
Beardsley.
Oh my
Beardsley.
god. Yeah, Allie Beardsley. Love it.
I know, right?
My
Allie
king.
Beardsley. And you see it the most there. And I was gonna say Critical Role, absolutely. But like, and then like even we're starting to see a lot more of the smaller indie stuff kind of coming out. Like the Magic Academies, like
Yeah.
anybody else that's kind of coming out and doing these actual plays. Seeing that come out as well, which is there's an intersect between geeky and nerdy people who are considered the outcasts, the weirdos, and that same can be said about people who have queer identities, and there's quite a bit of overlap with that. And so those two kind of meeting in the middle now has been kind of great.
Well, I think that's it, unless anybody else has anything to say.
Bueller? What?
What?
Bueller?
Okay.
Bueller?
Bueller? All right. Well, that's all for our topics today. Hope everybody enjoyed. Thank you so much, Evelyn and Heather, for coming on one more time, just so that way they can hear you say it again. Where can everybody find you guys at?
You can find us at twitch.tv/magic_academy. You can also, if you want to find all of our socials, all of our links, go to magicacademyrpg.com. That's where you can find absolutely everything. That's also where you can find our merch. If you want to get a fun little tie-dye thing. Heather's done a absolutely wonderful job on the merch.
Yeah. But I do have to say, outside of, figuring, like saying, where we're at and everything, I would be really remiss if I didn't mention the one who started it all, Randall. Because honestly, the Magic Academy would not be here. It would not be in a space. It would not be producing the content it is. They wouldn't be at D3 at C right now, which is tabletop gaming cruise. These sorts of things, dropping a module when they come back. Without Randall kind of starting this. So at least I have to kind of put it out there to say, we wouldn't be here without Randall.
True.
First and foremost.
Without Randall
Magic Daddy
out
himself.
a flyer in a Discord server being like, hey, I'm gonna be running Critical Role's Call of the Netherdeep. Does anyone want to join? And me and a few other people messaging him and being like, spots left, and him being like, no one signed up yet.
Meanwhile, I met through we will not talk about a certain dating show that we were competing against each other on. So we all met each other through weird ways. I met Magic Academy through Twitch and all my mutual connections, and it kind of went from there. But no, all of this would not be here without Randall.
Absolutely.
Well, all the links to everything that you guys have, they'll be down in the description. So that way it's easy for people to find you. Don't worry, we'll try to get some people over there. So but yeah, well, thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey, travelers, thank you so much for watching this episode of Dice and Dish. We really hope that you enjoyed it and that you liked the guests that we had on from the Magic Academy. They are a all queer tabletop RPG actual play that streams live on Twitch and puts all their videos on YouTube and Apple Podcasts as well. So make sure to go check them out. All of their things are going to be in the description below. And we hope to see you next time on March 1st when our new episode comes out. So yeah, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and turn on notifications for the YouTube, and to subscribe on whatever podcast service you're listening to this on. So we really hope that you enjoy. Thanks. Bye.